This video is going to be a book about managing oneself by Peter Drucker. This is the short version. There is a longer version. This is a Harvard Business Review classic, and you can see I've put a little bit of a smiley face on there, which is lovely. Managing Oneself is probably the most life-changing book that I've read. It's one of my favorites. I've written here, managing oneself is a moment-to-moment practice, not something to be glossed over. So managing yourself, the way you are, the way you learn, the way you act, the way you behave, the way you grow, all those things has to be managed. So let's just dive right in. He says, history's great achievers are people that have managed themselves. We learn to develop. And then he asks, we learn how to develop based on managing ourselves. So first you have to ask, what are your strengths? And whatever your answers are, you're most likely wrong. And actually, you can only find out your strengths from feedback analysis. Feedback analysis. This is something that completely changed my life. You have to track what's actually helping. So whenever you make a key decision or a key action, write down somewhere what you will expect to happen, and then 9 or 12 months later, compare the actual results with your expectations. So let's say you make a decision to join the gym. You write down, I expect that I'm going to lose 30 pounds of body weight in the next 3 months. 9 to 12 months down the line, see where your expectations were. Were you way off positively or were you way off negatively? Do you look like an athlete right now, or have you gone off in a different direction? That's the only way you can learn about your strengths. Feedback analysis, very, very powerful. So, create an experiment, this is my notes here, create an experiment, then see what the results are, and track it in writing, audio, or video form. So this is one of the reasons I like making these videos, because I can see how I'm going to be on video in a year's time. So I've written down how I want to be performing on video, what I want to be doing on video, public speaking, that sort of thing. Now I have this video as a way to track my progress. So it's good for you, but it's also good for me. He says, in maybe 2 or 3 years of feedback analysis, you'll actually start to know your strengths, and you'll know the most important things you know. So from that point on, you should concentrate on your strengths that can produce results. It's all about the results you produce, not how hard or how much effort you put in. So you can put in tons of effort into something that's completely pointless and doesn't help anyone or yourself, and what's the point? It's a waste of time. You know, it's not making you happy, you're not getting anything out of it. You want to work on improving your strengths, and feedback analysis will rapidly show you where you need to improve your skills or acquire new ones. Very, very powerful. He said taking, another amazing point, he says taking pride in ignorance is self-defeating. So saying, oh, I don't know something, that's great, that's fine, you know, I don't know it, so that's good. Terrible. Say, I don't know something, I should be curious about it, I want that knowledge. Or at least try to get that knowledge, and then see if you need it. He says it is equally essential to remedy your bad habits, the things you do or fail to do that inhibit your effectiveness and performance. So it's crucially essential to remedy those bad habits as well as improving on your strengths. So such habits will quickly show up in your feedback. For example, a planner may find that his beautiful plans fail because he does not follow through on them. So that's his weakness. So that's where you want to be. That's why feedback analysis is so important, because it tells you where your weaknesses are and it tells you where your strengths are. Without feedback analysis, you're just guessing. Comparing your expectations with your results also indicates what not to do. So that's kind of sort of changing your habits, your bad habits. And then you want to waste as little effort as possible, and you want to make this will make a competent person into a star performer. He says it's okay to learn from your weaknesses, but to waste time is to try and make them a strength. So for example, if your negative habit is procrastination, it is mine. It's 100% mine. So my negative habit is procrastination. So I don't ever want to become the most focused person in the world. That should never be my goal. My goal is not to turn a weakness into a strength. What I can do really well is I can do short tasks and really focused. So now I follow the Pomodoro method, where I do 25 minutes and then I go for a run, or I go for a break, or I get a tea, or I watch 5 minutes of a movie. Like I just get a clip in, and then I'm like, okay, cool, gotta go back to work. Bam, another 25 minutes. So in that way, I end up doing like 6 or 7 Pomodoros a day. So it's a lot of work, a lot of focused work, a lot more than if I did 2 90-minute sessions a day or 3 90-minute sessions a day, where I might get distracted halfway down the line. So I've known myself, I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, not trying to change my weaknesses into a strength. That's really important. Then he goes into how do you perform? Performing, as in how do you learn? Are you a reader or a listener? And he goes through loads of different things. Some people learn by doing, other people learn by hearing themselves talk. That's another little experiment I'm doing here. I'm talking to a camera and I'm going to see in 12 months down the line, do I remember this content better than all of the notes that I wrote in here? I mean, I've written tons of notes in here. Maybe I'll learn better from the notes. Maybe I'll learn better from talking. Maybe I'll learn better from listening to myself back. Only time will tell, only feedback analysis will tell. Let's look at a bit more. He asks, what are your values? So he calls it the mirror test. What kind of person do I want to see in the mirror in the morning? Answer that question. And then take that experiment where you want to take it. He says, a person's strengths and the way a person performs rarely conflict. The two are complementary. But there is sometimes a conflict between a person's values and his or her strengths. So you may have a strength that doesn't work with your values. So you want to stick to your values and also be working on your strengths, but in a positive way that fits with your values. So you might have to move things around, but that's what you should do. He says values, in other words, are and should be the ultimate test. Then he asks the question, where do I belong? Some people decide on their careers in their early teens or even childhood. Some people in their early 20s, but most people well past their mid-20s. So it's because it takes time for you to actually know your strengths. It takes time for you to know how you perform and what your values are. And what you should start to know is where you don't belong. So if you could start answering the question of where you don't belong, it will fill the gap of where you do belong, and you'll learn that soon. You have to know your strengths, again, the method of work and your values, and that will help you find your area. What should I contribute? So that's a really powerful question. And he keeps going. Let me just skip to the end and find a cool bit at the end. He says, organizations are no longer built on force, but on trust. The existence of trust between people does not necessarily mean they like one another. It means they understand one another. So you don't have to understand, you don't have to like someone to trust them. You have to understand where they're coming from. And then he talks about the second half of your life. So I'm not going to read that bit just yet because I'm only young and the second half of my life hasn't quite started yet. But I mean, I have read that and took notes on it. But I recommend either buying the full version of this book or at least the small version. I've read this many, many, many times, and I'm constantly working on my feedback analysis, and I'm constantly coming to this book to try and understand my values and my strengths a little bit better. He does go into more detail than I went into in this video. So if you like this video and you want to see more book videos, more little review books where I go into a little bit of the knowledge of the book and I explain how it affects me, then I would love for you to subscribe, and you'll actually be notified of when I release new book videos. So you can find out cool books, learn some knowledge on the way, and be on your path to self-development and growth. Also, if you have any questions about this book or anything about self-development or loving growth, put a question in the comment box below and I will look at it. I answer every question when they come in. And like this video if you like the video. I think that's how it works. You have to like it to like it. Very, very simple. If you have any friends that you think might benefit from managing themselves a little bit better, then tell them about this video, send them a link, a private Facebook message. You have to share it on your wall, but you could do that as well. Tell everybody you know about the video, that would be really great. And subscribe so you know when the next video is coming. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, go out and buy Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker, and also get other books by Peter Drucker. He is a business genius, coached many, many people, and yeah, he's brilliant.